Why do I read?
I live in two worlds. One is a world of books.
For me, it's books, books, books.
The mind needs books like a sword needs a whetstone.
I guess people like to read about the things that they want most and experience the least.
Books feed me.
Once upon a time.
I read it in a book once.
Is this a kissing book?
I don't care. I'm not ashamed of my book.
It's not right for a woman to read. Soon she starts getting ideas and thinking.
I checked this out weeks ago, forbidden like reading.
Books! You have never interested me more.
I have many leather-bound books, and my apartment smells of rich mahogany.
Now, when you read, don't just consider what the author thinks. Consider what you think.
I love that book.
I hated that book.
How can you read this? There's no pictures.
Don't read this book.
Those books are good. This might be the best book I've ever read.
I'm gonna go read.
Go ahead, read.
Why do I read? I read because this world is dotted after me.
Hello.
Are we on? All right.
We are on. I can't see you.
What did I do? Why isn't it? I am so bad at this. Okay, all right. Did that work?
It's black.
Right, I haven't taken it off yet. Do you want me to?
Yes.
You want to see this prize?
Oh, yes. Show me.
Okay. It's my hat.
I love it.
I made it. I made it.
God, it's so
I crafted
amazing.
it because I was looking for like a
Oh my God.
Buck Dane hat, and they just don't exist. So I was like, I'm making one, and so it says, Dane sucks on it, and it's
Oh,
got
that's
all this
amazing.
bedazzlement, millennial nostalgia, because Dane's a girl, and this is his dragon, and it's farting.
That
It's
is
looking
so
because
amazing.
Dane is stupid, and there's no way his dragon
Okay,
is.
thank you. We're not even cracked into it yet, but I have
Then
so
on
much
the
to say
back,
about that.
on the back, it says number 0, because that's what Dane is. 0. And it has my favorite Dane Atos quote on it, which is, "She's weak and belongs with me."
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Oh, and on the underbelly, it's got dragon teeth.
You're hilarious. Well, cheers. Cheers, friend.
Cheers. What
Cheers.
are you drinking?
I'm drinking a Cabernet Sauvignon. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a margarita.
Margarita, margarita. Hi, Bookmates.
Hi. Okay. So I'm a little more organized this time.
Ooh, you got
Instead,
Post-its? I got tabs.
right? I got Post-its, but I need tabs. Next time I'm definitely doing tabs.
And mine, I found some on Amazon that were just like short tabs, but I really like these ones because they're long and highlight the entire thing, but they're see-through, so you can still like read through it.
Yeah. I like to highlight mine though.
I
So
know you do. I know you do.
I'm a little more chaotic than you.
This is true. Okay. I don't think you understand how hard it's been to not talk about this book with you for this long. Well, I was talking to my mom yesterday. I'm like, I feel like I'm like getting an ulcer because I have all of these words and feelings inside of me that I'm not allowed to talk to Lita yet about. And like my face like literally started getting red. She's like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "No, I just like I need to."
Well, I know, and I find it really agony because one thing that we do is we talk about the book as we're reading it usually
I know.
together, like
I know.
throughout the reading of it. So
It's so
it
weird and
does,
hard.
yes, it does feel a lot different to have to wait
And
for
like
like,
we had originally like set it up to like record right away when we were fresh off of it, and then it just didn't happen. And it's been way longer than it was supposed to be, and I've just been dying. Dying.
All right, let's dive in.
Let's dive in. Okay.
Dive in. I'm
Oh my
excited.
god. Let's do this. Okay, just FYI, spoiler alert in effect. We are going to talk about all of the things. Nothing's off limits. So if you haven't read the book, pause it, go read it, and then come back. Or if you don't plan on reading it, just listen to us talk all about it, and then you can feel like you've read it.
And also, we're going to talk about all of the things.
All
Even
of the things. There is adult content in this book, and we will be discussing it.
so
Okay.
fourth wing. Okay, let's just start with basics. Did you like it?
I did like it.
What did you rate it
It
on
was
Goodreads?
I had a hard time rating it on Goodreads. I kept changing my rating, but I ended up giving it 4 stars.
I loved it.
Because the things I loved, and the things I hated, I hated.
I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads. I loved it.
It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. It is nice to have something like that when you're coming down from A Court of Thorns and Roses.
Well, and see, I think that was part of the letdown because I feel like it did not live up to the hype that everybody was like. It was a fun read for sure, but for me, it wasn't like everybody was like, "This is ACOTAR level good," and it's not. Like it's super fun. You're looking at me like I'm a traitor.
Well, I'm looking at you because nothing is ever going to be as good as A Court of Thorns and Roses.
I mean, duh. I mean, but I can enjoy everything for what it is. There's just like some things that just I had a hard time getting past.
Well, let's talk about it.
Okay. So I loved the dragon element, and I was really surprised, and I was like, fuck yeah, when I realized that we get to hear the dragons in their mind and they actually get to talk to them like conversationally. I was like, yes, yes.
I really like the dragon stuff too. It was very surprising. I didn't know anything about this book when I started it. I didn't even know it was about dragons. I mean, actually, I don't even think it's about dragons. It's the dragons are just a part of the universe.
Yeah.
But I found the universe exciting and magical. I absolutely loved reading it. I could not put it down.
I binged the first half in one day. I just like sat on my couch with it the entire day. And then I feel like it plateaued a little in the middle. One thing I didn't really notice until I was like midway through and it was like really starting to grate on me though is the overly modern dialogue. It was really bothering me.
The overly modern dialogue, do you mean like OMG?
Like when I'm in a fantasy when I'm in a fantasy setting with castles and dragons, I don't want to hear phrases like we're a hot mess or I'm here for it. Come out like it feels so out of place with the world.
I guess I don't notice it as much, I think, as you do. Honestly, I think you get a little more annoyed than I do at a lot of things. Like technical
Sometimes
things.
I do.
Well, and I think that goes back to you're just so grammatical anyways. So I think your brain just like
Well, and like I don't mind that type of writing or dialogue in the right setting. It just didn't feel like the right setting. It just the juxtaposition of it just kept throwing me off. I'm like, oh, why are they talking that way? Like I want to picture everyone with British accents.
you're always putting Henry Cavill on all your
Like,
man
he
dreams.
he just lives permanently in every main male character that I read most times. I did love how quick it started out, like immediately into the action. It didn't take a long time to rev up. It was just immediately going.
Okay, question. Did you know without looking it up what a parapet was?
Yes.
Because I did not. And I kept like my brain kept making it into parrot. And I was like, I need to go and look. I don't know what a parapet is.
I watch a lot of British shit and documentaries, so yes, I did know what a parapet was.
I like the old BBC.
I know I just a second ago I was complaining about the dialogue, but one of the things I actually really did like was the amount of dialogue because I feel like a lot of first person books are just so in their head and it's very like tell versus show, and that drives me crazy. It's one of my biggest pet peeves with first person POVs, and it didn't feel too stuck in her head because I feel like there was a lot of conversation between everybody.
One thing that really annoyed me was that, and I hate to say this because I know it's just like the shadow that is A Court of Thorns and Roses. It's just I really think that
nothing will ever top that for me, probably ever in my whole
and
life.
I think that it has influenced so much of the genre. It's like almost it's almost sprang a new genre.
No,
And
really.
and I thought that Xaden sounded so similar to Reese.
Oh, that
the
was my
whole
first
time.
thought. I was like, "Oh, is the High Lord of the Night Court here?"
Oh yeah, like I was just always picturing Reese in my head, and I couldn't think of a way that Xaden looked different other than
Yeah, there was a few times I wrote insert Reese comparison.
I wrote down Xaden is giving Reese Sand, but My Chemical Romance style. Still hot,
Yeah.
but kind of off. Like girl jeans. You remember that trend? I kept picturing emo Reese Sand.
Yeah, right. I kept picturing, yeah, like teenage Reese. This is probably exactly what Reese would have been like as a young stud.
I guess. But I mean, and so what I did was I wrote a list of all the things that I thought were similar to Reese and Xaden. He's got
Besides
dark
everything?
hair. Besides everything, he's got dark hair and a complexion. He's got dark powers of night shadows, whatever. Tattoos. He has a mind connection to Violet. Okay.
The bond.
He even acts like Rhysand. I wrote down pushes Violet not to be weak, but gives her space to be herself and make her own choices. Exactly like Reese. And they're obviously mated. I mean, it's not come out yet, but
right. I mean, this whole book, let's be honest, there's not much original about the book. Like it copies from a lot of different things. You have the like Hogwarts elements, but with dragons. You have like kind of this Hunger Games level curriculum.
Well, I think it was influenced from a lot of things. I did think that it was standalone, a great story. And
it was super fun.
It wasn't. So I don't feel like it was similar to those stories in that way. I just mean that you can just tell there's just sounded a lot like Rhysand. Like there was a couple of things here and there and that I thought about, but like you said, obviously some of it's Game of Thronesy, some of it's obviously
like a mashup of all these elements.
Well, and it was great. I loved it.
So one of the I wasn't going to talk about this till later, but I feel like I can't not say it anymore. The thing that got me the most, that just made me cringe so hard, physically hurt me every time that it happened, and I had to put the book down because I was so like,
oh, I know what it is.
You do?
It was the lightning orgasms that made you
no. Every like her nickname, his nickname for her is the stupidest goddamn thing I have ever heard in my life. It's so stupid. Every time he says it, like my ears are getting hot just talking about it. Like flames on the side of my face is getting
reminder
hot.
for a completely different reason because I love it.
Fucking
I loved it. That's when I was like, okay, this
I
guy.
also like, okay, number one, like it's not clever. It rhymes with Violet.
It sounds kind of like Violet, and she is violent.
No, she's not. She's the one person in this war college who refuses to hurt anybody. Why would he call her violence?
Well, I
Like,
mean, she does hurt people all the time. She doesn't want to, but she does.
right, she's not a violent person.
I don't know. Maybe he thinks she is.
I hated that so every time he called her violence, I was like, ugh.
Oh, I love it. Love that.
And I had to close the book for a second because I was so annoyed.
I actually wrote, I love the nickname Violence. Okay, and how refreshing was it that Violet was not a virgin?
Yeah.
I don't, sometimes I'm like, oh, they're a virgin. Oh, here we go.
Though I did feel like that this book, even though it wasn't YA, it reads super YA until you get to like the very explicit sex scenes. And that kind of threw me for a loop too, because it almost they're all so immature that it felt like reading about teenagers having like this level of sex. Well, they're not teenagers though. I had to keep reminding myself that because their dialogue is kind of immature and it just like really reads YA. When I got to their first sex scene, I was like, whoa, I did not expect it.
Okay. I counted, all right. She supposedly, all right, had 4 orgasms.
Yeah.
4. 4. 2 of them were in a row. In a row. No.
Well, like, I feel like the first 2 just counted as like one long one because she never stopped. Like she was just.
Oh yeah, see, I thought I wrote orgasm counter 4 on first attempt, maybe 5. Because the first one was, and I was like, wait, is that 2? I don't know. There's like 5 paragraphs. I'm thinking it's 2. I'm only gonna count 1. That's so. Sometimes that just makes me laugh when people write that kind of way in sex scenes because it's like, okay, all right, calm down. I think it would be really embarrassing to have lightning orgasms. Everybody around you would know.
How would they know? How would they know? All the trees are on fire.
The house is on fire. The curtains are on fire. Everything is on fire.
Blowing out windows. I mean, I guess the only like caveat you could give them is that, you know, because of the dragon bonding too, and they feel the feels, maybe they're like it's amplified. Because like
how creepy is it that they
that was so okay. That was so uncomfortable. Like they're feeling their dragons having sex. That's so gross and cringy. It's like, don't do that.
He's like, oh, just think about something else. Yeah, no shit. No shit. Or like, is that it's kind of tampering on the verge of bestiality.
Right?
Not
like it's
quite
really
there.
creepy. It's really gross. They have all these powers, but the dragons can't block their riders from knowing when they're like getting it on. Gross.
You know what I had a hard time picturing in this book was Violet's hair.
Really?
I kept thinking of it like it was a skunk, like black on the like black on the top, like all the way down to the bottom, and then just like white, like rogue, or I don't know. And I just kept going back to this weird skunk hair every time she references her hair, which I guess it's actually her hair is brown, brownish, blondish.
And then I just kind of imagined it as kind of like an ombre into silver.
Yeah, but into silver. Oh, and I got a little fascinated with that. And since I read this book 3 times,
3
times, I wrote down some Nancy Drew clues. All right.
Like your theories on why her hair is that color?
No, it's not my theories. It's like stuff that just little things that I picked up on and just started writing down from the book. On page 33, it says that her mother had an illness while she was pregnant with Violet.
Yeah.
And it almost killed her. And that she drank something. I don't know. I kind of thought of the Rapunzel thing. Like she was really sick and she drank something magical, because it also says that no matter when she cuts her hair,
it's always that way.
It adjusts. Like it's like a magical quality to it.
Yeah.
So I think that that's going to really come into play later on. Obviously, there's something going on with Violet. And I haven't read, of course, I haven't read Iron Flame. So
no, nor have I.
Yeah, but obviously I think that that's something that's going to come into
yeah,
play.
I think that there's going to be more to that. Okay, so immediately from right out the gate, when Dane shows up into the picture, I was like, oh, it's Gale Hawthorne.
Gale Hawthorne?
From Hunger Games. Like he was very much giving Gale. Her best friend in the Hunger Games. Katniss's like best friend.
Oh
who's,
my
like,
god, I
into her.
literally just realized I totally called him Liam all the time.
I know, because Liam Hemsworth played him in the movie.
Okay, yeah, Gale. All right, yeah, I remember.
Like, I was like, he's giving Gale, also Kale from Throne of Glass. Just boring, and I don't need him. I
hate Dane. Dane is stupid.
Hate Dane. Like the whole book, I was like, fucking Dane. That was one
thing
thing
he was giving Mal Orevtev.
Oh, 100% Mal.
Yeah.
Mal, Gale, Kale, just
Tamlin.
But I honestly wish that she would have fleshed him out more and that there would have been more of a push and pull, because there's, you gotta go into being like, okay, a love triangle's about to happen. And we don't actually really get that, because like she's, you start where she's really into him and has been like kind of longing for him for all these years. And they've been best friends since they were 5 years old. And I felt a little robbed that we didn't get anything like that when they actually reunited. It was like he was overprotective for sure. We never got glimpses of like flashbacks into their friendship, and you didn't get a real strong vibe of their friendship when they were finally together. And I just like wish that had been more fleshed out. Also, I would have liked to have seen that whole dynamic play out a lot longer. I feel like the enemies to lovers thing happened too quick.
I liked it. I liked that they didn't pussyfoot around with it. I feel like sometimes it's going to happen. And with the fast pace of this book and this story and like the way that it progresses so quickly, and obviously it was not boring in any way. I mean, I thought it kept a really good, like, exciting stride from beginning to end.
No, it
and I'm
definitely
glad.
did that. It felt a little too insta-love to me, because also
they've got the mating bond going on too between their dragons, and there's a lot of,
and that's kind of where I was getting at, to where I wish that like tension and angst would have been played up so much more, because you don't get the hate part very much before they're like insta love, but their insta love also doesn't make sense because they don't have many scenes together where they're actually getting to know each other at all, because they're always around other people. So other than them being so horny for each other, like what is it about Xaden that she's like, I love this man, I can't even help it, he's so fucking hot. But like, why? You've barely interacted with him, and the few interactions you've had, like, he's been an asshole on purpose.
I think you're overthinking it.
I mean,
you're overthinking it, man. She saw him and
he wanted more.
He was drop dead fucking gorgeous and all tatted up, and he's all buff from being a dragon rider, and she's like, wow. And also, like, he's like in control of everybody around him. He's the baddest guy there.
Here's the thing.
I mean, of course she's just salivating.
Right, but there's a difference between salivating and then like being like L-word in love. And I also think that ACOTAR has ruined me for things like that because also the slow burn is so satisfying when it's done right. And this is supposed to be a 5-book series, so I feel like we could have maybe fleshed some of those things out a little longer and like teased
I like
it a little
it.
more.
It gives them more opportunity to go through more shit throughout their relationship. You're not stuck in this limbo forever of them just going back and forth. You know, they just did it. They just broke the freaking wardrobe. They just cut to the chase.
Don't get me wrong, I'm here for it. I just wanted a little more.
I liked it. I move a lot faster than you, obviously.
Is that an insult?
No. It's a fact.
Okay, what did you think about the exposition dump when Violet is nervous about anything and she just basically like, here's world lore for you while I feel scared. And that's kind of how
I thought that was a really clever way.
that's the exact same thing I wrote down. Like that's a really clever way to give us exposition without info dumping too hard. And it makes in any other situation it might come off as awkward, but like since she was a scribe and was planning to be a scribe, like it makes sense that she's not equipped to handle these types of stressful situations because like she's never trained for this sort of thing. And then just to be like a bookworm and have all this knowledge in her head. So I thought that was kind of a clever vessel to drop some information.
I actually thought I didn't write it down, but I thought that was a clever way to keep it from being stale too.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes I feel that the way that people have discussions and they're revealing lore during the conversation is very unrealistic. And
it's like on Vampire Diaries when they like recap the whole like last week's episode in a conversation.
Well, and it's just so unnatural.
Like in case you missed last week's episode of the Vampire Diaries, we're gonna have a whole scene
because Catherine's in the tomb, or like they'll just like
and
and
we all know that the only way is to do this and this and this and this. So of course we have to do this and this and this and this and this. Like we know we were there.
State it very clearly. Everyone is on the same page.
As the way like that's how they do an exposition dump by just like rehashing the plot but to each other in a way that doesn't feel organic.
We cannot start talking about Vampire Diaries.
Yeah, we have.
We're all night. Okay, let's go back. So I thought she did a great job of that.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but the second we were able to hear Taryn, in my mind, Taryn is Liam Neeson's voice.
I always think Sean Connery because of Dragonheart. Or the guy's voice from Merlin. Did you ever watch that show, Merlin?
Oh, yeah.
That was a BBC show, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, I just pictured Liam Neeson's voice every time we heard Taryn.
He would be a good dragon voice, I think.
Right? Also, I love how sassy he is.
Right? I liked when he said, "Should I get the wing later?"
Yeah. One thing I wrote down that I really loved was that even though Dane is her closest friend, I love that she was always calling him out immediately and didn't kowtow to him and his authority or experience like being in the quadrant or whatever. Like she just like hands him his ass all the time. I'm like, yeah, fuck you, Dane.
Well, there were some of the things that I think some of his concerns, Dane's concerns, are valid.
They are to a degree.
I wrote down that Xaden says, all right, this is all referencing the things they say in the book about who survives that goes into the writer's quadrant. But out of 500 or so people, 67 died on the parapet. This is just in Violet's year. 67 died on the parapet. Usually around 15% out of 500 people die on the parapet every year.
Yeah.
Half of the remaining will die this year, in their second year a third of that, and third year a third of that, leaving out of 575 down to 27. 27 people out of 500 will graduate the Writers Quadrant and survive all 4 years of Basgai College.
Okay, so that brings me to another point that I wanted to talk about. The fact that this structure makes absolutely no sense. They're always talking about how limited their resources are and how desperately they need people in this military college. And I guess it just like makes no sense that they're just like willing to let the majority of them die. Just even like crossing the parapet, like you're just gonna like whoopsie you slipped. I guess we're down 100 candidates like and they're just like letting them kill each other like without any sort of repercussions really. It just doesn't make any sense. Like wouldn't you want to establish some camaraderie in your military?
I think you're
Or
making a lot of really good points.
like
I never thought about that.
like it
I
doesn't
mean,
make
that's true,
it
though.
doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make sense.
Doesn't
No.
make sense. And like even like the teachers are like trying to kill off other people's quadrant so that they can be the best one. It's like, aren't we all supposed to be on the same team? like everybody's so worried about the griffins and the things. Like, oh no, the wards are failing. We need all the people that we can get. Let's let half of them die just walking the pyramid over to college on day one. Why? Build a gate.
I don't
Put
know.
up a guardrail. Like, why?
It's a test. It's a test.
Of what?
They still have to do it even if it's raining. Well, you were too far back in the line.
Right, but like literally, no matter who you are, anybody can just slip and fall. You could be fucking like, as she points out in the end, like Liam was the best and strongest in the year. But also, can we talk about why he had to die? Because it doesn't make sense. Like the dragon dies, so you just are a perfectly healthy person, then you just die because your dragon dies. Like they never explain it, and it doesn't make any sense.
They did make a reference to it. When you are officially bonded and like accept the bond, it links you in a magical way. So
Well,
it
and
must
I
be
get-
it
I
must
get
be part of the
that.
magic link.
Well,
That
yeah,
if
but
dragon dies,
it doesn't work both ways because their writer can die and they don't die.
well, they can die.
Well, they can die because like more like because of a broken heart, like it's their choice almost, not like Liam's like, "Oh shit, my dragon died. I only have a few minutes left to live even though I'm like a perfectly healthy person
Yeah.
who's uninjured."
I think too that I mean, there's a really clear message that the dragons in general are extremely powerful and strong, and even the magic that you channel comes from your dragon. Like everything magical about these people comes from their dragon.
Right,
from
and I get that. I just wish they would have explained, or she would have explained that more, because it's like a writer or a writer without their dragon is dead. It's like, okay, but why? Other than because magic.
Well, maybe it's part of the bond or the magical bond that they forge with you. I don't know. But
I don't know either. And I was like, that's dumb.
But that is a possibility, I think.
One thing I just didn't get was why, when you find out that Amber chick basically sicked all those guys on Violet and let them into her room, when she outs her, then she tries to save her. Why? Like, she tried to kill you. Like, why are you like, oh shit, never mind. Don't get her in trouble.
Well, Violet has a soft heart.
I have a soft heart too, but if someone tried to fucking murder me and send in like 6 armed people to slit my throat in my sleep, I would not be having like this like, oh, maybe we can get over our differences. Maybe we just need to like have a heart to heart and just like talk about our problems.
No, but it's quite a big thing to say I sentence them to death. I mean,
Oh, well, I mean, maybe in a normal setting, but this college, like people die left and right just from like spraining their ankle and falling off a cliff. So commonplace that it's not even.
I think too that part of that was that she knew that Dane was close with her and that, they were.
But that's another thing too. It's like Dane
were
immediately
they
was more willing
later?
to believe this Amber chick than his best friend of his entire life.
Well, yeah, but if he's thinking, he's just going to question it if he's thinking, oh my gosh, they're going to kill her, my friend.
Right. Again, another reason why this college makes no sense. Their rules make no sense. Like, yeah,
It's not
maybe
their rules.
attempted murder. Like maybe you should go to jail.
It's the dragons who make the rules.
They don't. They clearly don't.
They do make the rules. Oh, here's the thing. How much of a bitch is Violet Sorrengail's mom?
Oh, okay,
What a
I
bitch.
have a couple of theories. Number one, I wrote down a couple times I think Mama Sorrengail is sus. Like she knows what's up. Also, her mom's power is to control storms, and the first day on the parapet there's a storm. I'm like, why are you trying to kill your daughter?
Maybe it's not her daughter.
Maybe she knows what's up and knows that, or maybe thought that Violet would figure shit out as a scribe and because like it made no sense to
Do you think she knows
also.
about Brennan?
I don't think she knows about Brennan, but I think that she knows a lot about a lot of things, and I think that she's not on team good. I think that there's a reason other than vanity that she sent Violet to the writers, because also her dad has been dead for a while, but let her continue to train as a scribe when she never planned on letting her go to the scribes. Like she literally throws it on her at the last second, like, oh, by the way, tomorrow's conscription day and you're going, and not letting her train or prepare in any sort of way. And even Mira.
Well, it could have to be like family pride, like military.
Right, which okay, like, but then, like, why not do that the second her dad was out of the picture? Be like, okay, change of plans. You're gonna be going to the writers, start training now. Because even Mira was like, she's gonna die day one. Like, she can barely carry a backpack. Like, what do you like? You just like rather her die as that than to just not like be alive as a scribe. Like, it doesn't make sense. So I feel like there's something more going on there that.
Yeah, she's a bitch. That's
yeah, because she's a bitch. But I also think that she has an agenda, and I don't think that her dad's death was an accident.
I don't know. I'm curious to find out in Iron Flame what's going on there.
Because you have a sense of him knowing something is up. Maybe if he doesn't know everything, he knows something, because in that book that he gave Violet, and then there was that secret note inside of it.
Isn't that so similar to Shadow and Bone? It reminds me of Shadow and Bone, like the old fables. Like I feel like there's gonna be something that has to do with the fables.
Well, yeah, because obviously, like, we learned that, like, the Venin are real and all of these things. For someone who has known each other for most of their lives, like, Dane does not know her very well.
No, well,
like, he
he
has like no faith in her. Like you pointed out with those statistics, the fact that she even made it through the parapet is like a feat, and so she like keeps winning all of these things and keeps like proving herself. And if anything, he becomes more and more Tamlin-y the farther along we get. Like the more she accomplishes, the more he tries to like get behind me. This way, I'll lead you. Like
I hated that he openly admitted that he wouldn't have fucking saved her.
Yes,
like, I exactly. Die.
I also kind of wanted to know, like, okay, for you are willing to let your best friend and supposedly the woman you love die for the rules. I'm like, what is it that makes him that hardcore about the codex that he would be willing to let Violet fucking die?
I think he just has a very high sense of duty. He's gonna live by the rules.
I mean, there's duty, but then this is another thing. I mean, like, it doesn't make any sense. You're not allowed to just step in and like, you're in school. Like, this is a college of school. Like, you're not die for general safety, and it doesn't make sense.
Welcome to Dauntless.
It's like on what is it? The Dharma Initiative. It's just like, why though? Because
the end.
I kind of wanted there to be something other in the middle of her kind of doing something other than poisoning her potential pair ups. I'm like, you can't keep writing her out of every fight with like, I'm gonna poison you today so that I can like she's basically she's cheating her way through, and like I get that at the beginning, like for the first couple ones, but I kind of wanted like a
so obvious. It would be so obvious to everyone after
right,
the
like
first time.
the first one, second one, okay, maybe, but we're like 5 people deep of just like, oh, I accidentally got poisoned today for no reason. I can't fight her.
Oh, I'm feeling nauseous just as I step onto the mat.
And then Violet's just like, what? Oh, what? No.
Kids are vomiting blood.
I really kind of wanted like a Mulan be a man montage of her just, starting out really weak and then getting strong, but no. And then we get to the Jack fight, and then she still uses the he's allergic to oranges. Come on.
I know, she went back to the poison.
It's so unsatisfying. Like I wanted her to kick his ass. And at this point, she's earned it because she's like actually been training and practicing with like Imogen and stuff. I wanted her to genuinely kick his ass. And then she still had to fucking resort to the point because he was allergic to oranges. That's so lame.
She blew him up though. She killed him.
Did she? I don't know. I mock me. I think that we have not seen the last of Jack. I think he's gonna show up as a villain later. If Game of Thrones have taught me anything, like if I don't see a body, then they're not dead yet. I don't think he's dead.
I guess we'll find out. There's supposed to be 6 of these, you said?
5. I loved Mira. I loved Big Sis Mira. I really wanted to see more of her. Like when they went out to their little expedition beyond the wall or wherever, and Mira was there, I was like, oh, yes, I love her. And I also love the way that she also handed Dane his ass.
Yeah, I really didn't care about her.
I liked her. I really wanted to see more of her because she was very no nonsense. She was protective of Violet without being condescending,
The entire book, I just wanted to hear from Xaden. That's why I was there. I was like, okay, I want to hear from Xaden. I want to know what's going on with Xaden. That was me the whole time.
I agree. I also wished for
like, you betrayed me and I'm never gonna be with you.
Oh my god.
Okay.
I was like, oh my god, she's gonna be such a teenager about this. For obvious reasons, he couldn't. And also, you've been together for like 5 minutes and you're mad that he hasn't told you the biggest secret that could not only get him killed, but a bajillion other people killed.
That Dane would know about if he had told her just from their last encounter together. Yeah. And now he didn't know that information. It makes complete sense. In a way, he did it for her protection.
No, right. Like he's totally justified on every single level. And it's annoying that she doesn't see that, even with the fact that like she accidentally gave Dane information when he touched her.
Well, I think it's just the author trying to establish discord in their relationship.
I mean, yeah, but like don't be a teenager about it.
I know. That's
like there's
I
conflict.
always thought that Violet was a little bit whiny.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Like when I say like it gets kind of YA sometimes because she's just so first boyfriend. Like, oh my god, you don't trust me with every single thing and your whole entire life. Like we can't be together. Oh, I really wish that Dane had been around, well, early on. I was like, why isn't he around for anything? He didn't even go and see her at the gauntlet, and he wasn't even like, she like kicked ass and he wasn't even there. Like, he's so worried about her all the time and then just didn't even show up for that. Like, what's the deal?
I was annoyed that Dane's name was Dane because that is a stupid name.
It's a stupid.
And it immediately makes me think of this kid named Dane that used to go to church with us.
Oh my god, I forgot about him.
Dane. Dane.
Oh my
Dane
god,
came in and
Dane!
shook shit up, man.
Oh my god, that's weird. I
And
forgot
he was
about
there
him.
for like 3 months. He did not stick around.
That is so weird. I forgot all about him.
So I kept picturing his face every time like that name came up.
That's fair.
Oh.
That's so funny. I'm gonna kind of circle back to something before, but like with Violet doing all of the poisoning and things, and they talk about it a lot, and so I think that her dad maybe got poisoned, and I think that Violet's gonna figure it out because I don't know. I don't think it was an accident. If her mom really wanted her in the writers, the only thing keeping her from that was her dad.
Well, here's the thing. If that's true, why did she poison him? Like, was he going into the rebellion or something?
Yeah, I think that maybe
was
he was gonna
trying
out it.
She was trying to prevent him from shaming her, from shaming the family.
But yeah, well, because her entire reputation would be on the line, because if everybody knew what was really going on, then that it completely crumbles not only certain people, but just their whole society and everything that is common belief in their like world about
And I
things.
almost wondered too if she wanted to take her out of the Scribe Quadrant, if maybe that had something to do like with
That's what I'm saying. Like, she's forcing
with
her
the
into
people that when the people that are in the Scribe Quadrant, maybe they know a lot more about the situation, and she's trying to keep her away from those people.
Maybe.
That's also
Well,
a
because
possibility.
I think that her dad maybe discovered it and maybe confronted her about it. Because like there's no way, if her dad didn't know, because her mom obviously knows about at least an element of this, right? As like the second in command of all of the things. Like there's no way there's no way that her mom doesn't know at least a fraction of
Yeah, like
what's
here's
really
the
going
thing,
on.
like, do they have a king and a queen? Like,
Okay,
who
that's another thing I wanted to talk about.
who does
Again,
the writers answer to? Like the whole writer militia thing, who are they, just independent?
right? Like nothing about this world actually makes sense. Like there's a king and then there's a viscount, and then she's like, wait, we don't have viscounts in our monarchy. Even she's like, wait, this doesn't even make sense, and I live here.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know what's going on there. Because it gives
Also-
off like maybe they're apart. It's very medieval feeling sometimes with the dragons and the
It's like it is, but then it's not, because like everybody's just like, oh my god, we're a hot mess. Bring in the dragons. But then like the king is coming for a visit. The juxtaposition also just like clashed at times. I'm like, I'm here for what's happening, but just like make it make sense within the
and
world that you've
also,
established.
She doesn't really talk about. I read the thing 3 times, and I'm telling you, she didn't talk about the government or any of that kind of stuff.
No, it's
She
very
talked about-
vague, and there's a king.
She talked about battles and things like that, but she didn't talk about their system of democracy or lack thereof, or how it works, if it's like a dynasty, a lineage. I mean,
Yeah.
that information is not present. And I'm wondering if we're going to get more of that, because maybe she was sheltered in a lot of ways. You know, she was kind of like homeschooled or whatever.
She was scribe schooled.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean. And so I think that that's going to come into play too.
I agree. One thing that I wrote down, it's very walk to remember. It's like the first thing I thought of when Dane was, or not Dane, Xaden was like, don't fall for me. I was like, okay, Mandy Moore, like whatever you do, don't fall in love with me. I hate that. Like, way to take the spice and dump a bucket of ice cold water over it.
Way to like say that and be completely completely dependent on her like 5 days later.
Right?
Like completely, I can't live without you.
Well, yes, and then like you will love me again. Like it's fine. It's fine. Like I love you too. Like don't fall like whatever you do, don't fall for me. It's like why? Because we're literally saddled with each other for the rest of our lives in many different ways. Why wouldn't you want a benefit of just shacking up too? It didn't really make sense for him to say it, and it was just so cringy for him to say it.
She has standards. And
All I can think of is A Walk to Remember and Mandy Moore being like,
disrespectful.
just don't fall in love with me. And the follow-up to that was just, it was so cringy. I was like, ugh. Did you figured out or guess when the War Games was happening and they get sent to Athabine, wherever that place is. Dane clearly knows what's about to happen. And I was like, something bad is about to happen with this War Games thing, and whatever it is, Dane knows about it. When he was like, I'll miss you, Violet. And he was pissed off because he just figured out that her and Xaden are like together. And he's like, what? You're fucking kidding this guy? Really? Fine. I'll miss you, Violet. Like, I was like, oh, he knows, and he does not expect to see her again. He was like saying goodbye. I was like, fucking Dane. He fucking knows. Like, whatever's about to happen. I don't know what it is, but he knows.
Dane sucks.
Dane sucks.
I can't believe he would just like openly send her to her death.
That's what I mean. Like, why? Like, and I get that his father is like a colonel or whatever, but it's like, are you that much of a pussy that you just like you would send your best friend and who you supposedly love to their death? Like, he could have like come up with an excuse.
That Xaden is like his arch nemesis, kind of, even though he's totally not. But
he's only that because of Violet.
Right. Well, exactly. And then he finds out, oh my God, you're with this guy? This guy right here?
The thing is that he had his chance and he was like, literally like, I love you, but I won't be with you because, it's frowned upon. The rules.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Dane is very military minded. He wants to do everything by the book.
Right. But like how it doesn't, I mean, how are you going to get mad at her being with someone else when you straight up said you weren't going to be with her?
Right. Yeah. I
like
agree.
you don't get to
Well, because it's Xaden though. That's why. It's Xaden. It's that guy that smirks at you and makes snide comments, but is always just a little bit better than you. In just every way. And then you get the girl, not only the girl, his girl, the girl he's been growing up with and he's probably been in love with forever.
Yeah, he's being Jacob right now.
He very Jacoby. But in a much more dickbag kind of way.
Way more. He was gonna let her die. He knew, and he was like, "I'll miss you."
So he's such a hypocrite because he's constantly paranoid that she's gonna get hurt or maimed or killed, and he literally puts her in harm's way.
Yeah, 100%. I thought the exact same thing. Oh, now you're not worried because he wants to be like the savior. He wants her to still be weak. He wants to be the like, I'll save you. Just stand behind me.
He thinks that Violet is supposed to be in a certain category and that he's not comfortable with her when she goes outside the box that he's put her in his head.
Totally.
And yeah, fuck you, though.
He doesn't respect her at all or give her any credit for all of the things that she's accomplished there. Not once did he ever go like, wow, I was so scared. And like, you're actually like super badass. I'm really proud of you. Like, never once did he say anything even close to that.
I also thought the time stopping element was very, very similar to A Court This Cruel and Lovely.
Oh, I haven't read that yet.
Almost, well, that's, I mean, I'm not really spoiling anything because from the very beginning, but she can stop time. That's
Oh.
her ability in that book, and it's very, very similar, almost shockingly similar to that in this book. That's what I mean, like, that kind of stuff got on my nerves throughout the book because I could just tell that she pulled from so many different things that are
Yeah.
already there, you know.
Even
And I get
her hair, Daenerys much with the dragons and the silver hair. And
yeah.
Daenerys has violet eyes and her name is Violet. No one sprained any muscles there.
Your face is red.
Between the wine and then being mad at Dane and violence, my face. It's so interesting though because like that was like either Lita hates this as much as I do, if not more, or she loves it. Like,
well, I was actually, I thought you were going to have a lot more bad things to say.
oh,
And I kind of came into it on like, I wouldn't say the defensive, but I was concerned that you hated it and that I loved it because
I didn't hate it, but like there were things about it that I did hate, or was disappointed in. And wished for more. Like it didn't for me. It didn't live up to the hype. So I feel like I had huge expectations.
I knew nothing about the hype or the TikTok stuff or anything. You're the one who picked this one.
Just like many people that I know are like, oh my god, you have to read this book, and everybody was like losing their minds over it. And so I feel like I had really, really high expectations versus like the Horseman ones. Like I knew what I was going into, so I like them for what they are. Like don't think about it too hard at all because you could pick it apart, but it's fun. I'm here for it. Like, but that I kind of like walk into like knowing exactly what it is, what I'm here for. The junk food read.
If this is really going to be 5 books, this is a great start. This book was really strong and compelling and kept me interested. I have read so many negative reviews about this book, though. There are people who hate this book. Like, really a lot of people who do not like this book at all and gave it 1 star on Goodreads. And we'll kind of go into that here in a little bit.
Yeah. One thing that I really wished there was more of too. Basically, that's my biggest complaint on the everything as a whole. There wasn't enough of the like emotional resonance for me to like really be invested in the characters. Like the story's fun, world is fun, and like pacing is really fun, and the sex is fun. It's all fun, but it kind of lacks this emotional depth that I just. It was right there, and it's so rich. For me, it was just like, oh, missed opportunity. Like I want more Rhiannon. Like we don't see much of her or get a sense of their friendship. Like they're supposed to be best friends, but they kind of have like a roommate acquaintance vibe on the page because we don't see a lot of their interactions. I called a lot of the things that happened in the end. Like I was not blown away by the ending. I guessed that Brennan was alive.
Oh, I did not. I didn't.
Yeah, when they talked about it, I forget, there was some place early on in the book where I had like a little inkling of, we're bringing Brennan up a lot. Interesting. And then once she gets hurt and they're like, bring her to him, I was like, it's Brennan. He's alive.
Well, I figured that for me, I didn't think of it that way. I always thought of it as that they were really close and what happened to him really affected her. And then there's like all of these books and stuff that he wrote notes about the Writer's Quadrant and like how to survive there. And her sister gave it to her, and it's the only reading material she has. So there was obviously connection with Brennan, and I almost wondered if they were just using that as character development for Violet, which could have been a possibility, I think, as well. Which is where my head went with it. So I was shocked. I was very shocked.
When they were like, bring her to him, I was like, Brandon's alive. I'm saying it now. I got on Marco Polo with my mom and my sister because I was like binge reading the end. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God. I was like, oh my God, so many bad things are about to happen. And I don't know if I'm emotionally prepared for them. I'm like, I was like, I feel like, I told her, I was like, I had to put the book down because like I feel like the rest of this book is gonna be like that soundbite, like emotional damage, emotional damage. And I really kind of geared myself up for that. And I was like, oh, I didn't need to be that afraid. I kind of called everything. I was like, Liam's gonna die. Like, we haven't lost anyone important. Liam's probably gonna be the one to bite the dust. And I didn't care that much because we didn't get to know anybody that well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel this is the beginning of those characters' stories. You don't really know a lot about them yet.
Yeah, but like Violet is devastated. And because there is a lot of fast forwarding, like 5 weeks later, we did this. So, like, a lot of time is passing that Violet is building up relationships with these people. We just don't get to see it. So, like, for me, Liam's death, it was like, aw, but that's about the level of reaction that I had to that.
I thought it was sad.
I mean, I thought it was sad too, but like,
Interesting to see how they die if their dragon dies.
yeah. I mean, I guess again, I was just preparing myself for some really traumatic things because like I've seen friends of mine like post videos of them reading it. I think I sent one to you, weeping, like ugly cry, sobbing. And so I was just yeah, over that. And I was like,
that's a little intense.
so I was like really going into the end of this book. Oh my God, everything is gonna happen. I'm not ready. What's gonna happen? Like, I was just mentally and emotionally preparing myself for a lot more than actually happened.
Well, the only one I really care about is Zayden. So I was feeling pretty good going into that.
Yeah, like
I was thinking, man, we're kind of early to be losing Zayden. I think I'm good.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere. There are 5 books.
Has she released the cover art for the 3rd book yet?
I think so.
They announced the name of it. I forget it.
It's like Onyx Storm.
Oh, yeah, Onyx Storm.
Yeah. I have a lot of tabs for quotes. Do you have cringe quotes?
I have 2 quotes.
Of the whole book?
Yes, I do.
What?
Yes, I only have 2. So you're going to be leading the trumpet on this one. Okay, I have
You didn't have any cringe quotes ever?
I have 1 cringe quote and I have 1 favorite quote, and those are the quotes that I have.
Well, I look at mine.
Oh, Jesus. Wow.
I really wanted you to be on my level like last time. We had a lot of quotes last time.
I just felt like this was more of a fun read. I didn't pick up on stuff the same way I did last time and connect with a lot. Like you said, sometimes it's very YA and it's not super deep. So
Yeah.
I really didn't. I only highlighted the stuff that made me laugh out loud or
What's your favorite quote?
my favorite quote.
One day we will have the same favorite quote.
One day, and I doubt it's today.
Probably not.
Okay, my favorite quote is on page 378, and it's at the very bottom of the page, the last line in my book, which is "Shut up and fuck me, Ryerson."
Oh my God. That's your favorite quote of the book?
Shut up and fuck me, Ryerson.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Do you want to know something embarrassing?
No, that was my favorite quote. I was like, ooh.
How about the first half of the book? I did not pronounce his name that way in my head.
What did you say in your head?
I don't want to say it now.
You have to. You didn't say it?
For the first half of the book, I pronounced it Riorson. And then I put the audiobook on because I was behind. And I like had a lot of shit to do that day. I was like, I'll just listen to it for a little bit. And then it was like Ryerson. I'm like, oh, that's not how I was saying it. I was saying Zayden Ryerson.
That's the fun thing about listening to audiobooks. You don't have to think so hard about the names. Because sometimes, especially in the fantasy genre, the names get kind of crazy.
They do, but like that's kind of how it's spelled. Like I can get Ryerson, but I just immediately went to Riorson. Am I alone in this? maybe at least one other person pronounced it that way.
So what's your favorite quote?
My favorite quote. I had a couple favorites. I wrote 2 down for my faves. My first one was on page 184, and it was when she had bonded both of the dragons, and Dane was like telling her that she had to choose one. And it goes, "My mouth opens, then shut like a fish out of water as I search for any reply that isn't fuck off." And then my other favorite quote was when she's telling Dane off. They both Dane related, her just like telling Dane off or wanting to tell Dane off. It's on page 286, and she says, "I know you just want to keep me safe, Dane, but keeping me safe is keeping me from growing too."
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Well, my only other quotes are on page 278, and they're sexually related things.
I'm
as
sensing a
well.
theme.
And I mean, this just, I don't know, it just made me
I
laugh.
have one on 278 too. What's yours?
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
It's like describing the sex. Kissing you would be a cataclysmic mistake. Calamitous.
Calamitous.
The inches between us feel like kindling, ready to burn at the first suggestion of heat. And I'm a living, breathing flame. This is everything I should run from, and yet denying the primal attraction I feel is completely, utterly impossible. And then on page 279, she describes their kissing as we're a tangle of tongues and teeth. I thought that that was very odd.
You never
And
want the teeth clashing moment when you're
I
kissing.
know, you don't want to have a teeth clash,
You
like
never want the teeth.
where you're like wondering, oh my God, did they knock it loose?
Yeah.
Anyway, those are all my quotes.
Mine from that page was, "He tastes like churrum and mint. Like everything I'm not supposed to want." Like, what is churrum? I literally Googled it and no one knows. Like, she just made it up and we have no context for this word. We have no context for what this is.
I thought you said churros for a second. I was like, I know that's not right.
Like CHURAM. Churram. He tastes like churram and mint.
Did you spell it right when you tapped it into Google?
Yeah. And everybody's like, what does churrum from Fourth Wing mean? So apparently I'm not the first one with this question. No one knows. It just
Well,
is.
maybe it's she's still writing the lore on that.
I guess, but we have no context for this word, and like maybe I missed it. Let us know if you know. So here's a few of my French quotes. Maybe I won't read them all because I have quite a few. It was at the very beginning when she like first meets Xaden. In my brain, I'm in medieval land with dragons and parapets and turrets and and then she like sees him and it's on page 19 and she's like, "Even the diagonal scar that bisects his left eyebrow and marks the top of corner of his cheek only makes him hotter. Flaming hot, scorching hot, gets you into trouble and you like it level of hot." Like how old are you? Page 109. "My breath catches and my body warms. The traitorous bitch. You are not attracted to toxic men, I remind myself, and yet here I am, getting all attracted."
That's a good one. I like that one. I wouldn't say that it's like a real enemies to lovers. Like the enemies is very short-lived.
It's very short-lived, and that's what I wish was more fleshed out because they have every reason to be enemies. Like, he is responsible for her brother's death. Her mother killed his father. It's there for them to hate each other, and I kind of was waiting for, like, it wasn't until she basically is dying at the end that he realizes, like, "Oh, shit, I actually have feelings for her, and I don't want to have them." They just lean very much into
Both of them have been completely eclipsed and shadowed over their parents' choices as well.
Yeah.
They've had to basically, like, take on the sins of their father. I mean, especially with what happens with Zayden, how he basically had to get a slash on his skin for each child from the rebellious parents that got to live. And
Yeah.
the only way they're required to go into the writer's quadrant. They don't have a choice. Or they'll
Right.
be put to death. Like,
And then that again begs the question, like, that also doesn't make sense, like, from a strategic military, so, like, we will force you into our military, and you have every reason to betray us, but we'll just, like, let you into our military because we're running out of people because we just let all of our candidates die for some reason? I don't know.
well, I'm wondering if there is gonna be more than just the dragons. Like, there's obviously gonna be armies too, and who are those people loyal to? And
Well,
I
and
think
then
we're gonna learn more about that, and obviously in a coming book of some kind, because we're going outside from the end of Fourth Wing. We're going outside of the world of the school, outside of the control of her mother. Because even though she's in the writer's quadrant, her mother is there. Everybody's always been watching her and telling her what to do, and she's been sheltered to know only the things they want her to know. So now she is going to be going out and she's going to learn about all these things that have been brainwashed out of her.
and not even just her, but their
Yeah.
whole society and culture in general, like, not just
Yes.
Violet.
Yes. And so I'm really interested to see what the world is actually like. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Red Rising or like The Matrix, where
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
right now the whole time we've been below the surface, but there's a whole world above it.
I was gonna respond to that because we also get a glimpse that Xaden is obviously working with the Griffin writers to an extent, so I feel like we're gonna uncover a lot of that dynamic, which will be fun.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna learn a lot more about I don't know, what are they called? The ones with the red eyes that are all fucked up?
Venin.
Venin.
Okay, I'm saying it now. I don't think that Jack is for real dead. I think that if anybody was gonna harness the dark powers to, like, sell their soul to stay alive, it would be him. I'm just saying it. I think that he'll be back.
I think that Xaden and Violet will definitely end up together for sure.
I mean, they
That's
are
gonna be
together.
I think that's gonna be like a consistent thing. It's gonna be like a very on again, off again, tumultuous.
I just really hope it doesn't stay in, like, this teenager drama angle on Violet's end, because that was gonna get annoying really quick if that happens.
Yeah.
I have a few more quotes if you're up for it.
Yeah. I wanna hear 'em.
Ones that I like and ones also that I didn't like or cringe quotes. This one I really loved of Taryn. Like, I just love Taryn's snarkiness. Right at the, is it page 171? He's like, "You're making us look bad. Stop it. Like, stop being dumb. You're making us look bad." I love Taryn. I loved it when Mira chewed out Dane. That was one of my favorite scenes, honestly.
Yeah, fuck Dane.
Fuck Dane.
And Darna sounds like a little girl in my head.
I know, and Darna's so cute. Here's one that they say she says this more than once, and I think it's just
Who's she, Violet?
yeah, like, she says it out loud, and she says it to herself, like, "I'm gonna climb him like a tree," and then on page 276 it's so weird, and then on page 276, she literally says it to his face. Like,
That
would
reminds me
you
of Melissa McCartney in Bridesmaids, because she says that in Bridesmaids.
He's just, like, super modern, like, within, like, the last few years of things, I'm like, this shouldn't be showing up in my fantasy book." On 276, she says it to his face. Would you pretty please teach me how to shield before I accidentally climb you like a tree and we both wake up with regrets? Ugh,
That's a cringy line. For
cringe.
sure.
It's so cringy. It's so cringy. It's embarrassing. I feel embarrassed for her. And when they say things out loud to each other that's like so awkward, like when she says, "You haven't exactly been around to talk about anything in weeks. If I didn't know better, I'd think that that kiss scared you." Is it absolutely toxic that I'm attracted to this look on him? Probably. But one look and my temperature rises. Like it's just so teenager. Like it's just so like hormonal
No,
teenager.
it's not even giving teenager. It's giving like preteen. Like
exactly. Like that's like, and then the sex is so hot that it's hard to reconcile this type of inner monologue with what actually happens because it's so juvenile. It's so cringy. And some of it she says out loud to his face, and it kills me a little bit.
I kind of love it though because she just is so sassy.
But it's not.
It's very entertaining though. Violet's an entertaining character. Yeah.
She's cringy a lot to me.
She's very combative with everybody.
I mean, I don't mind a good combative.
Yeah, except that she's combative with everybody and everyone is obsessed with her.
Or like when she says, when they're on the mat, he says, like, unless you don't know how to handle an opponent on top of you, and if so, that's a whole nother issue. And she's all like, I know how to handle you on top of me. Oh, it's so bad. It's so cringy. There's all this like sexual tension, and I'm like, yes. And then she says something like that, and I'm like, ugh. I hate it.
Really showing your age, freshman. Oh, and I thought it was like so obvious that Zayden was not with that chick that she was upset about.
Oh, I know.
They were never even together hardly. Or like, you know, they didn't do anything that was flirty or anything.
She was just jealous because she like Did
you see that?
No, what?
I pushed a button on my chair and I just literally slammed into the floor.
Oh, I choked on my own spit and I was choking.
What is going on, universe?
Oh my god.
This is literally the first time I've sat in this chair. So don't press that button.
Don't press the button. So speaking of cringe, who else thought it was cringe? Let's hear some 1 stars.
Okay, so I wrote down a bunch of 1-star reviews that I got off the internet for Fourth Wing. So I'm just going to read some of them out loud. Mia says, the amount of time I cringed was insane. I'd rather stick molten hot needles in my eyes than read the sequel.
Well, I can concur on the cringe because the cringe level midnight sometimes with this book.
Level midnight. Cringe level midnight. Honestly, Sophie says Zayden definitely wears skinny jeans. Which is
emo Zayden.
Saying like the My Chemical Romance.
100%.
Like,
and you know he wears eyeliner too.
100%. Stell says Zayden could spit on me and I would ask him to do it again. That was
Are they saying that in a positive way?
I'm not sure. I thought it was very confusing.
That is confusing.
Walking Tragedy says I could so take a guy named Zayden in a fight. Georgie says my therapist will be hearing about this. Not really sure what kind of therapy. Steph says we get it. She's short. I did feel like she referenced her height a lot.
She did, and in a weird way, I felt very connected to that because I'm short and no one's ever short. in books.
The last one I have is Gillian says, this is Violet. I was born with glass bones and paper skin. Every morning I break my legs, and every afternoon I break my arms. At night, I lay awake in agony until my heart attacks put me to sleep. Xaden enters and says, "Hello, favorite darling." I like that one. That one was funny.
Those were good. I did like the element that Violet was not only at a disadvantage because obviously she was like a scribe or whatever, but like in ways that she can't control at a disadvantage, like physically, like her condition just automatically puts her at a disadvantage that she has zero control over, no matter how much she trains or whatever. Someone who deals with like a chronic issue physically.
Yeah. Well, and also you're short, so you probably related to that.
I relate to being short.
You're like, you know what? Yeah, I am that height.
We also have questions from our peeps to discuss.
Yeah, what are they?
Because we wanted to hear from you guys. We don't have a lot of you guys yet, but those who are with us, we're gonna get into it. Alexis wants to know, she thinks an interesting question would be if their powers are an extension of their personalities, or is it just random, like the powers that they get from their dragons? That's a really good question.
That is a good question, because it almost makes you think, like, has Tarn ever bonded with anyone? He has, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
With the one who saved Brennan.
Right. What was his
Naolin.
What was his signet?
I don't remember. Did they say?
I
don't remember.
I'll have to look
and
into
then
that.
like with Violet, I just thought of this. Does Violet's hair have something to do with her lightning power?
Well, that's what I was saying earlier when we were talking about like stuff that we were referencing in the book for our notes, that I think that there's some kind of magical element to Violet separate from her dragon signet and connection, obviously because of her hair. And they did reference, even though it was only once and very lightly, that her mom was sick when she was pregnant and that she drank some kind of like magical thing, and now her hair has this weird ability to change color. And so I think that is something that's going to come out later. There's obviously something more going on with Violet.
I agree. And then it like, does it also have to do with the dragons and what their particular strengths are? And then it's, as we saw with that one, I forget his name, the mind reader who was like immediately killed. His power, her signet was like starting to manifest, and like, oh nope, can't have mind readers because there's too many secrets. Like, just snap his neck and be done with it. But he obviously had no control over it. So like, what was it? Something about him, that his personality, that created that power, or was it the dragon giving him that particular power? Because obviously the dragons have powers too. Like
Well, I think it's like too much for the human body, though. Like, obviously, that ability, when it manifested, it wasn't just that he could read everybody's thoughts around. He was literally screaming and flailing. It was like all these things going on at once in his ears, and
because he could hear everybody at once. All of the thoughts
he immediately started to go insane.
But it's interesting, and I think that maybe we might see maybe more of that later, because they said it's like strictly forbidden to have that power. But like they don't have a protocol for like isolating that person and teaching them how to control it instead of just like straight up killing them. Damn.
They're not very merciful.
No, but why?
Well, it's just a death sentence. Like, it's an immediate put him down.
Yeah, which it seems so unfair because it's obviously completely out of his control.
Obviously, it's very painful. I almost wonder if certain signets, when they manifest, are too much for their body, their human body, to handle. They're not strong enough to handle it, and it
But when he
kills them or drives them insane, or
Right, but wouldn't you think that the dragons would know that before they bonded that person, like what they would be capable of and what they wouldn't be?
Well, maybe not. I mean, mistakes are made.
True. We have a couple questions from Kate. Number 1, are they setting Dane up to appear like the lame-o just to have him be the true love interest? And if not, is he meant to be with someone else?
I do not think that I think that Dane is going to end up being a villain character.
I think that's kind of where I'm leaning to because obviously his dad is, because he knows what's up. He threatened.
And Dane is so allegiant in a military fashion.
Probably
It's
be because of his
very,
father.
yeah. It's about more than just being a part of the Writers Quadrant to Dane. It's a legacy that he's building for his family. It's, something he takes very serious and has a lot of pride in and wants to earn, and I think that just trumps everything else for him.
Yeah, and getting daddy's approval seems to
Yeah.
be a big one because he
His
was
dad seems pleasant enough.
he is the one who orchestrated the whole Resin attack.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So, obviously, Dane knew because his dad orchestrated it. So, Dane is team Atos, which means he was willing to that's like a line in the sand for me. Like, he was willing to let Violet go knowing that. And I think that he, in his mind, cut himself off from that friendship the second he found out that she was with Zayden. He was like, "You're dead to me. I'll miss you. Bye."
Yeah. He's very full of himself.
So full of himself.
Yeah, he thinks that what he thinks is best is best. Like, there's no room for discussion
Yeah.
with him.
The thing is, like, and that's I think another thing, like what you were saying earlier, that specifically gets him about Zayden is because Zayden is top dog and he has the loyalty of a lot of people, regardless of the fact that he has like the rebellion relic and that he's like technically, you know, on the other side of things. But he has loyalty and he's badass and he's good at everything. So I feel like he has just like a complex because he wants to be the number one.
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with his father too.
Mhm.
And who knows what what his actual goal was. Everything just kind of fell into their lap with what happened at the end there. Obviously they were dropped into that situation, but I wonder if that was intentional, that kind of a situation, or if he had other plans for what he was going to do within the Writers Quadrant. If he was trying to actually climb the ranks. I mean, I almost couldn't picture, even though he's the best in the Writers Quadrant, them even really promoting him to a position just because of who his father was. They kind of keep him as a workhorse and not really give him any real power, which is kind of
Mhm.
hard to do because of Segale.
Yeah.
His signet's so powerful, like in a warlike way, it almost forces them to give him credibility. But I really do wonder deep down, and that's one thing that I'm going to be looking for in their next book that I hope that she explains and goes into detail about, is what Zayden's goal was before everything happened. Like, why was he going to school there? Why wasn't he just with the rebellion? Like, what was he wanting to achieve by climbing the ranks?
Well, I don't necessarily even think that he wanted to climb the ranks. I think that initially he kind of like when he talks about taking responsibility for everyone, it was just like, you all can die right now. And then he basically came up with like let's all just go into the writer's quadrant and we promise we'll be good. So I think that initially it was more just saving everybody's lives in the moment. And then when he bonded Segale, it was a game changer, and like you said, they couldn't not acknowledge that. And it
Well,
put
and
him on the board in a way that I don't think that they wanted, 'cause I think that they probably thought like, "Oh, well, we can just kill them off. They won't bond dragons because of XYZ," and then he ends up bonding one of the most powerful dragons, and they can't not have that on their side.
Well, see, the thing is about Xaden too is that Violet almost like looks down on him for having that little connection with the everybody from the rebellion. But I think it's kind of honorable. Like those are all like kids. Some of them that are forced to go into this thing. Some of them are not suited for it, and they're most likely going to die because only 4.5% of people who enter the Writers Quadrant survive all 4 years
Mhm.
out of like almost 600 kids. So, I mean, he's trying to guide people that don't have anybody else to guide them, that never had parents because they were killed because of the rebellion. I Him giving advice to those people coming in and, like, talking to them and telling them what they need to be doing better to try and survive, I think is pretty noble.
For sure. Literally taking the marks of every single one of them, like, if any one of them defects, like, it's on him, and he took responsibility for everybody. Number 2, a couple other questions. What really happened to Violet's dad? I know we kind of touched on that earlier. I think that he was murdered.
Obviously. I also think he was murdered.
Do you?
And I think that his wife murdered him
I think so
because
too. I think that she's involved.
I think that she is wicked.
Yeah,
I
Mama
don't know what's going
Sorrengail
on with
is
her.
not a good guy.
No, I don't think so either.
Number 3, why was Andarna allowed to participate?
That's a great
It's a
question.
great question. I've
Yeah,
thought that too.
yes. I That did cross my mind, especially when they were in threshing and she was in the middle of threshing. That seems very dangerous to me. I
Mhm.
don't, and they're not supposed to leave the veil. So I'm
Right,
wondering,
because
yeah, I'm wondering what happened there, and they never talk about it.
I think that Violet asks at one point, well, there's a reason that feather tails don't bond, and that's because they're basically baby dragons. It's like, well, why did you let her do that then? And Taryn's answer, like, well, you can't really tell her to do anything. She just kind of, I
I
don't
wonder
know.
if they're linked. I wonder if Andarna and Violet are linked because of magic or something.
My initial thoughts when I started the beginning and then they started talking about Taryn and the black dragon, I was like immediately like, okay, well, that dragon's gonna show up and bond with Violet. That was my first thought. But then when the little dragon parade happens and they're just like they're coming out to the dragons, and they're like, look at us, pick me, pick me. And then Andarna is there. I'm like, oh, we're going the other way on this. Like it's the small dragon that she'll be able to get on. She'll bond the tiny dragon, and then it'll just be
Yeah,
like a
it's very
tiny
like
little power
How
duo.
to Train Your Dragon, small but mighty.
Exactly, like, that's
Yeah.
exactly what I thought. And then she came out, like, bonding both of them, and I was like, "Okay, get it."
Yeah, as soon as he bonded with her, I was like, "Okay, she's gonna bond with both."
Nice. Also, not a question, but Kate wants to know, did anyone else get annoyed with Violet and her whining about Xaden?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes, all the time. And, okay, so
Let
for
it
me,
happen.
whining a lot. And I think it was like halfway through the book. Okay, at first you have this reluctant attraction or whatever, like we get it, he's hot. But then it becomes the majority of her inner monologue for a while, just how hot he is. And I'm like, okay, we get it. He's hot. Can we just also you can think someone is hot and also think they're an asshole.
But
Hot
yeah,
people can be assholes too. So it kind of
but
annoyed me
Xaden's
that
not
like
actually an asshole.
No, but she doesn't know
Yeah.
that because we never had a scene of them, or very rarely. We get it maybe towards the tail end, but we don't have that many scenes of them being vulnerable with each other or him like showing that softer side to her. He's just like always Zayden-y. So it just like her level of emotional commitment to him doesn't make sense for the scenes that we actually got, other than her being like, he's so fucking hot, I'm gonna climb him like a tree.
Yeah, she's very horny, by the way.
Just
Can we just
so
say
horny
that,
for,
like,
and that's like the basis of their relationship, is how horny she is for Zayden. And then when he's like not giving her the attention, she's like, "Ah, Zayden, spare so annoying."
I am kind of sad that we've gotten that now we're like in the part of the relationship where he's trying to win her back, because I don't feel like he really did anything
He
wrong.
didn't do anything wrong to need to
Yeah,
win
so
her
I'm
back.
really annoyed because of that. I'm really annoyed with Violet because I
Yes.
think completely she's being completely irrational and overreacting so hard. And she's
Yes.
so agonizing over the fact that she's overreacting at the same time. It's very annoying.
Like, she in the same thought, she'll be like, "I get why he couldn't tell me, but he should have told me. He should have trusted me. If he actually loved me, he would trust me." But in the same, like, thought pattern, like, literally justifying, like, why he couldn't at the time. Again, they've been together for, like, 5 minutes, and she's the general's daughter. Her best friend is Dane. Everything rides on so much. The stakes are so high. Like, why would he immediately be like, "Oh my god, you're so hot. Let's get it on. Also, here are all of my war secrets. I totally trust you, even though I've known you for 5 minutes." Like, that's not
No, I think
realistic.
that his hesitation and his I don't even consider it to be keeping a secret. I would consider it to be more keeping his business to himself.
Right, and he says
Yeah.
that, like, he's like, "I didn't lie, I just didn't volunteer things for obvious reasons." Because when you have a best friend who could touch you and then, like, steal your memories without your knowledge or permission, like, that is a big problem. Like, you have to see that. It's annoying how
But
smart she can
she's
be on
not
some things and just
I
so
feel
stupid in others.
well, I think that she's emotionally immature.
No, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's
She's emotionally and she's got that Persephone vibe, kinda like
oh, yes.
she's not used to being out and about around amongst the men, amongst the
Or
boys,
people.
or people, like, she's got, like, a homeschooler dropped in the middle of New York City vibe to her.
But not
And
in a
so
not in an endearing way, though, and just in a way that's
but,
like,
first relationships are always great, but they also teach you a lot about yourself. And she's a kind of whiny
she's
and
so whiny.
and she's needy in a weird way.
Yeah, in the most, like, teenagery way, like, "Talk to me about every single thought and dream you've ever had, and share every little thing," and, like, she's, like, going back to her room and writing Xaden and Violet in hearts in her journal, like, level of
You know who she reminded me a lot of was Selena from the Throne of Glass series.
yeah.
Uh, she gave me, like, very, I don't know, girly, but assassiny with the daggers and the and the
Right, I'm
poison.
like, and it just is. There's some times where I was like, "Yes, get it," and then she says stuff, and I'm like, "Ah, you're so close to being awesome," and then you just say things like that, or it's frustrating because it's all there to just be so awesome, and then it just, like, misses the mark sometimes, but when it does miss the mark, it misses it by a lot. Where were we going with that?
Well, the thing that I think one of the things that was the most confusing to me is that Violet has a weak bone structure.
Mhm.
Like, her joints pop out of place. Her bones break easily. Yeah, she has a sickly disposition. I feel like that's something that wouldn't just go away because of training.
But no, yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Like, there are things
Yeah.
that she just can't control, no matter.
Yeah, but like they almost make it seem like over time it gets less severe. And I'm wondering if that has to do with the dragon, like the connection between her and the dragon, or if really it's just, okay, we're not going to talk about this anymore. Because I mean, she'll make references to, oh, I had to wrap my ankle or something like that. But I mean, she's
Yeah.
doing heavy duty training, very physical stuff, and she's not getting injured. And
I think that to a degree of training, like building up your muscle and like getting your body stronger is gonna help physical things to a degree. Not in a like I used to get injured all the time and now I don't kind of way though.
but why was she so brittle, and why is now she's not brittle?
Well, because whatever makes her hair white and being her mom being sick with that virus or whatever made her all sickly, which is why her mom let her be a scribe with her dad because it was like she can never do any of the physical necessities that writers need to be able to do. Through like most of the book, it's like she can't keep her seat, and apparently that's like the biggest thing. And like everybody's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! You can't keep your seat." And she's like, "No, he just like gives me a magic seat belt. It's fine." But it's interesting too. I'm curious if we're gonna get more on like Tarn too, because Tarn seems to treat Violet completely differently than any other dragon treats their rider and makes allowances for them because all the other dragons are just letting their riders fall off them left and right. They're like, oh, there
I'm
goes another one.
interested in I just wanna know more about the dragons in general. I wanna know more about their culture, I wanna know more about,
Yes.
their rules, I wanna know more about their histories, how old
Okay, so
they are, and
yes, here's a question that I have. It's clear that the dragons bond to their riders and to lose their riders is just devastating for them. So why is Tarn the only one that seems to be protective of their rider? Like the other dragons are like, "Oh, they fell. Dang it. I'm just gonna go die of sadness now." Like none of the other dragons also like try to catch their riders who fall off or give them like is Taryn the only one who can magically hold a rider on there?
well, he
Why aren't more dragons doing that? They're like just like killing people left and right or like letting their riders die when it's supposedly such a devastating thing for the dragons.
well, there is, like, a passage somewhere that I remember reading where I don't remember if it was Zayden or Taryn was talking about that and about how sometimes the dragons just let their riders die at the beginning of the bonds because they're concerned that the rider is too weak, and the longer that they're bonded, the stronger the bond becomes. And
That's
so in
true.
a way
You're right.
they're doing all these things like that. I'm sure the dragons are pushing them. I think that Taryn's relationship with Violet is singular in their connection, and that he almost treats her like she's an equal to
Mhm.
him.
Mhm.
She talks to him like she's an equal to him.
Yeah.
And I think that in general, the dragons are the strength in the relationship. They're the ones where the magic is coming from, and they choose who they want. So I think Taryn was saying that sometimes they just let their writers die if they think, oh, this was a bad fit, and I don't want to be tethered to this person for and be killed by them if I don't think that they're strong enough to be my writer.
Yeah.
You know?
I also think that Andarna's parentage is gonna come into play.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh wait, is it?
Because we don't
It's not.
know.
It's not Taryn and Segale.
It's not. They just kind of like basically adopted her because her parents are out of the picture. Like she's basically like an orphan dragon and they're just kind of like looking out for her.
Now I'm really excited to dive into Iron Flame because I've kind of been waiting. I'm excited to see if some of these questions that we're talking about come out in the book in the next book. So
Yeah.
kind of excited to dive into that. I think I'm going to dive into that tomorrow.
Yeah, I this week I really wanted to because I had the time, but I was like sick all last week. I couldn't read because like my head was just like pounding and I couldn't. I'm
Yeah, I
gonna
have to be in the right mindset. This week, I've been listening to the Bridgerton series, the
Oh yeah,
audio
yeah, you told me
series.
that. I need to listen to that. I
Oh, they're
today
so good. You never know what to expect when you pick up a romance novel, but I would say that this is like the Bridgerton series is like top tier Regency romance, and the show is so good. They change a lot in the show to give it more drama. But in a way, that's kind of okay because the show is great. It's a different story in a way. It tells the
right.
story in a different way to where it's not like you don't know everything that's going to happen because they cut a lot or changed a lot, and I've really been enjoying them. They're really fantastic.
I feel
I just finished the fourth one today, so the next one is To Sir Philip with Love, and that is Eloisa's story.
okay.
But
I
so good, so good. I really recommend, and the audiobooks are great.
I will have to check those out because I feel like I will like the books better because the show is something that I really wanted to love because it has everything that I love. Like I love Regency, I love anything Britishy, I love romance, I love the, the all the tropes, and just I just didn't love the show the way that everybody loves the show.
Oh, I
Like,
love,
I liked it okay, but there was a lot that I didn't like that was, like, cringy to me, and I, like, really wanted to like it so much more than I actually did.
well, it's massively different. I mean, like, Queen Charlotte is a
That
huge
I
part of the
actually like that the best so
yeah,
far.
and she had, like, a spinoff with the Queen Charlotte series, and Queen Charlotte isn't even in the she has not been a character in any of the first 4 books. She
That's
is
crazy.
she is a character that was written in for the show. And so everything happens a lot differently in the books. It's a lot more realistic to Regency era romance where the stakes are higher. Like I feel like in the show, like nobody was running around acting promiscuous the way that they do because it literally would ruin everyone's
Yeah.
life around you in a very serious way. It's not like, oops, we were caught. I guess we got to get married. No, it wasn't like that. It was a big deal.
Right, yes.
And so the books are a little more, the stakes are a little higher in the books. It's just, they're fantastic.
I listened to a chunk of Famine today. I
Oh my
started I
gosh.
started I
So
started that one.
I did. Oh
That
my gosh.
but that is
Good
what I'm
God.
listening to right now. Have you listened to or read more of Furyborn? Because like you tease me because you start books and then you just like set them down and like I got all excited and now you're not like reading it. And
Well,
I'm 3 books into the Horseman. Like I'm on the 3rd one.
oh my gosh. I have read so many more books for you than you have read for me.
That's not true.
Yes, and you're not really actually physically with your eyeballs reading those. You're listening to the audiobooks.
You're physically reading that, not listening?
Furyborn?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. So I've had a little bit of a pause this week on my eyeball rating. It's been like all audiobooks this week.
No, that's valid. I thought you were listening.
No, 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 I'm reading it. So I did start it and I do like it, but I really haven't.
The audiobooks are really good.
Are they?
Yeah, I listened to them. I didn't physically read those. I listened to them. I also don't understand how there's not more of a fandom for the Furyborn trilogy because it is sublime. Like the writing is just so good. And then the way that it wraps, like the trilogy is just so from start to finish, like so well thought out. The pacing, the timeline switches, it's just I can count on one hand how many times a book has like literally made me like jaw drop. Did not see this coming. Oh my god. Akatar was one.
I think it was more Mist and Fury for me.
Oh, Mist and Fury, like, but collectively.
That book made me cry.
Oh, me too. I
That
cried
made me,
I
you know
cried
what else?
multiple times in Furyborn.
Kristen Hannah makes me cry.
Oh, I cannot read a book of hers without ugly crying at least once.
The Nightingale literally broke my heart.
Oh my God.
I cried like a baby.
Me
It was
too.
so sad.
I if I don't ugly cry at least once, I'm not reading a Kristen Hannah book. Have you read Winter Garden?
No, you're always recommending that one.
That one is probably one of my favorite of hers. When I say, like, I was listening to the audiobook, and I remember I was on my way to a friend's house for dinner, and I was listening to it on my way over, which was a huge mistake. And it got to a certain, and I was like bawling in the car. Like I was like stopped at a red light, and I'm just like ugly crying, and like people were rolling down their windows. They're like, "Are you okay? Like,
that sounds
do
a
you
little
need help?"
crazy.
And I was like, "No, it's okay. I'm just listening to my book. I'm fine."
Oh my gosh, that's like so cringy. I feel bad for you.
It was bad. Like I was unwell. I was unwell. It was bad. And you know me, like I'm not even a huge crier, but I was like straight up bawling because I'm like, I could not with that book.
You're not a huge crier. You're the saddest crier I know. Your tears make me cry. Just the thought of your tears. You guys want to know what she told me? You want to know what she told me? She told me that she cries in the shower. Do you know how sad that is that you cry in the shower? That no one could ever see your tears. They just blend in with the water dripping down your face. That is the most depressing thought I've ever heard. That makes me I'm getting choked up talking about.
I used to never let myself cry, so I think as the older I've gotten, I've just like kind of leaned into it and let myself do it, which is good. But now I cry at a lot of things and I'm like, who am I?
All right, well, that's just enough of all that. What are we reading next?
Next we're going to continue on in this universe with Iron Flame.
Yay! Excited to dive into that. And just so everybody knows, we are going to switch up the genres moving forward, but for obvious reasons we're doing the sequel. So
yeah,
but we are going to switch it up. We're not going to exclusively do we're not going to exclusively do one genre. We're going to switch it up. But I feel like we're all on board.
We like to read everything, guys. I mean, we love what's happening right now in the romantasy genre, which is becoming its own genre, of course.
Of course.
We're obsessed with fantasy right now, just like all the other book girls. But we like to read other stuff. We like to read all different genres.
If you guys have any questions, comments, we want to hear from you about that book too. You can find us on all of our socials, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube.
If you go to our website at www.bookmatespodcast.com, there is a link there to our link tree, and you can get to all of our socials from there. And that's also a direct link to our podcast. And we're on most podcast platforms, so.
And if you want to comment or send us your questions about the book for us to discuss on the podcast, you can email us at bookmatespcast@gmail.com. We want to hear from you guys. So, all right. Thanks, Bookmates. Thanks for being here. Thanks for reading with us.
Jazz.
And all that jazz.
All right, that's it. That's all she wrote. Thanks, Bookmates.
Thank you, Bookmates.
All right, go to sleep. I love you. Love you. I love you.
I love you too. Bye.
Bye.